Hello, my dear students. Welcome again to this class. Today I am doing a refresher again for class 10 CBSE students. It is a revision of important parts from your syllabus of the chapters, of all the chapters. So starting with the life processes. In this life processes, you have to remember certain very important aspects, that is nutrition. In nutrition, in the autotrophic nutrition about photosynthesis. So the salient features of photosynthesis is that it has to be performed from carbon dioxide and water in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So it is CO2 plus water in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll giving C6H12O6 and oxygen. So very importantly, great significances of these photosynthesis. One is providing food to not only to plants but also to other organisms, because they are directly or indirectly dependent on the plants only for food, as it is shown in the food web in an ecosystem. And then the second very big importance or a great and greatest significance is that it is providing oxygen to all the living organisms. It is the most important natural source of oxygen, that is the photosynthesis, because oxygen is also released along with the food, that is glucose. Okay, so these are the two very big importance of photosynthesis. And in the process, you have to remember the light dependent phase and the light independent phase. In the first phase, the water is broken in the process of photolysis, and hydrogen and oxygen we are getting. So molecular oxygen is we are getting from here only, and by the photolysis process, and hydrogen is in the combined state with NADP, making NADPH, and electrons are being released in the first phase, which are converting ADP into ATP, which is phosphorylation. Adenosine diphosphate is being changed into adenosine triphosphate, which is the main source of energy. These things you have to remember in this photosynthesis part. And then also you have to remember that in the second phase, which is not dependent on light, what is happening mainly, it is the reduction of the CO2, and now all these elements which are there in carbohydrate, that is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, are being obtained, and finally food is prepared. So in the second phase, the reduction of carbon dioxide is very, very important. So this you have to remember, the process of photosynthesis. And then the chlorophyll is very important in photosynthesis. So where it is present in the chloroplast, which is a special tissue in the leaves of the plants, and in the chloroplast there are thylakoid, which are disc-like structures, and chlorophyll is present on the walls of the thylakoid. In fact, there are 9 types of chlorophyll, but the most common and important chlorophyll are chlorophyll A and B. Chlorophyll is made up of all these elements like your hydrogen, oxygen, magnesium. Okay, so all these the components are there of chlorophyll. It is It is made up of many elements, right? Hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, magnesium, as I said, like this. So the most important element in the most important types of chlorophyll is chlorophyll A and B. And these thylakoids are in piles, which is called the granum or grana, and the ground substance of chloroplast, where these thylakoids are located, the ground substance is called the stroma. So these things you have to remember. And about the opening and closing of the stomata, because carbon dioxide in the air is entering through this stomata only. So how this is being regulated? By the deposition of sugar molecules inside the guard cells, because photosynthesis is happening there also. So what will happen? The concentration of the solution will increase inside. So water will be less inside than that outside. So water from outside will enter into the guard cell, and these guard cells will also swell, which will result in the opening of the stomata, right? And the opening will be wider. And now, when the concentration of the solution inside is increasing, then the concentration of the water is increasing inside. That is, water molecules are increasing, right? Because they are entering from the outside, so they are increasing. So once the water molecule will concentration of water molecule increases, it will go out of the guard cells, and these guard cells will shrink, and the opening will again close. So the opening will also shrink, and the stomata will be closed. So this is how these guard cells are. The opening of the stomata are being regulated by the guard cells. There are two theories behind this. One is sugar deposition theory, and another is potassium deposition theory, which is also a result of photosynthesis in the guard cells. The concentration of the potassium molecules are increasing inside the guard cells, and the same process is being repeated. So this is the process. This is the reasons why how the guard cells are regulating the opening of and closing of stomata. Right? There are various experiments which we are going through, which you all always go through in your books of in your book of NCRT. In nutrition, photosynthesis is important, and then nutrition in small animals is also important, like nutrition in amoeba. So the modes of nutrition, you have to just remember that the autotrophic, okay, photosynthesis is the main part, and the second is heterotrophic, where the number of modes are there: parasites, your saprophyte, and then your symbiotic relationship, and then the holozoic. The holozoic is actually includes all these higher animals, including man, mammals, and man. So here the steps are, ingestion. First, the food has to go inside the mouth, and then it is digested in man in the stomach or intestine and intestine, and then finally your assimilation, and then absorption, assimilation, and then egestion. So in lower animals also this happens. In amoeba, you have to remember the steps: the ingestion, the digestion, the absorption, and then egestion of the undigested food. So these diagrams are also come sometimes, and you have to identify that this is the steps in the nutrition of amoeba. Food particle, then the pseudopodia will go around the food particle, and it will engulf the food particle, which will be digested in the food vacuole, and then after the digestion, food vacuole will disappear, and then the undigested food will be, thrown out of any part of the body, which is called the egestion. In man, the digestion, in human, the digestion system, you have to just go through and revise. So this is, this is there in the book. So it is not very, it is very simple and interesting that from the mouth, the digestion starts, because the amylase is there, and it secretes an enzyme which is called in the saliva. Amylase is there. Amylase is an enzyme which starts the digestion of the starch, because we are eating or taking a lot of starch in our food, so that has to be first broken into your disaccharide, that is maltose, and then finally into glucose. And so it starts in the mouth only, and then protein has to be finally digested or change into amino acids, proteins into peptides and peptones, and then into amino acids, which takes place in the intestine, and then the fats are finally digested into fatty acid and glycerol. So this digestion is completed in the intestine, and the enzymes which are responsible are the amylase for the digestion of starch, complete digestion of starch, and then your trypsin for the complete digestion of protein, and the pepsin also for the digestion of protein, and finally trypsin for the digestion of protein. And for the digestion of fat, which enzyme is responsible? That is the lipase, fat to fatty acids and glycerol. So this is the digestion part, student. And the other important life process parts are the respiratory system, which you are very, very well you are knowing. The aerobic respiration, the anaerobic respiration. Okay. Always remember that cellular respiration is the source of energy, because without cellular respiration, the energy will not be released, and no process can take place without energy. So the breakdown of glucose is very important inside the cells, right? And this is the cellular respiration, which is almost same in plants and animals. Only thing is that in anaerobic respiration, in plants, alcohol is released, and in animal, what is released? Lactic acid is released. So sometimes after hard physical work, this lactic acid accumulate, and they cause cramps in the legs or hands. So this is because of the deposition of lactic acid, right? So these three kinds of respiration will generally take place. That is, one is aerobic respiration in presence of oxygen, lack of oxygen, and absence of oxygen. So these points you have to remember. And breathing is also very, very interesting, and you have studied about breathing a number of times. Inhale and exhale, or inhalation and exhalation. So when you are taking air inside, that is inhalation, and when you are breathing out, it is exhalation. So it is actually making the oxygen available in the lungs, so that enough or plenty of oxygen or sufficient quantity of oxygen is supplied by the blood to all the cells and tissues of the body, because we need a huge amount of energy, especially in human and mammals. We are warm-blooded. Our temperature does not change with that of the surrounding. So this to happen requires a lot of energy, which is only possible that adequate amount of oxygen is available for oxidizing carbohydrates to release sufficient energy. So this is possible in mammals and in human, because there is a respiratory system, and in breathing these organs are helping. That is the nasal cavity, the pharynx, the larynx, the trachea, the two branches of the trachea, bronchi, that is the bronchus in each side, and then the bronchus is again dividing into alveoli or air sac, and the blood capillaries which are around these alveoli, what is happening? Oxygen is being diffused in the blood from the alveoli, and carbon dioxide is diffusing back to the alveoli from the blood. So this gases exchange is taking place in breathing, and actually when we are inhaling, the diaphragm on which the lungs are resting, diaphragm is dome shaped, it becomes flat, and the external intercostal muscles of the ribs are also helping, and what is happening? The thoracic cavity, the volume is increasing, and the pressure gradient which is there inside the lungs as compared to the atmospheric pressure, this pressure gradient is very, very important for inhalation and exhalation, because when it goes down, what will happen when it decreases? The air will easily come inside and will reach the lungs. And in the reverse situation, what will happen during exhalation? The lungs will again, the diaphragm again comes back to its original position. It becomes dome shaped, and the external intercostal muscles of the ribs, they are relaxing. So what will happen when they relax? The space inside the lungs, or the volume inside the lungs, will decrease. Earlier in the inhalation process it was increasing, now it is decreasing, and the pressure gradient will increase as compared to the atmosphere. So the air inside the lungs will be easily driven out through exhalation. So this is inhalation, exhalation. This you have to remember, students. And about the blood pressure instrument, what is the name of the blood pressure instrument? That is the sphygmomanometer. Blood is the pressure against the walls of the arteries is actually the blood pressure. Okay, and this is measured by the instrument. Sometimes this question comes, sphygmomanometer. Okay. Now circulation, about circulation also, about heart also you have studied. So you remember the salient features only. Heart is four chambered because there should not be any mixing. Human heart should not be any mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. And the double circulation, number of times I have discussed in my videos. You have to also revise this, because double circulation means the blood passes through the heart twice before it completes a full cycle. So that is one part is pulmonary circulation, the another part is systemic circulation. Heart to lung, lung to heart, this is pulmonary part. From heart to body, from body to heart, this is the systemic part. So this is how the double circulation takes place. Okay, and the details are there in my other videos also, in the book also, how it is taking place. So from the just to revise it in short, the deoxygenated blood is coming in the right auricle. From the right auricle it will be pumped to the right ventricle. From the right ventricle it will go to the lungs through the pulmonary artery, and from the lungs it will be oxygenated and be carried back to the left auricle through pulmonary vein, and from the left auricle it will be pumped to the left ventricle. From left ventricle, when it contracts, it will be pumped to all parts of the body through the aorta. So this is in short the circulation process. The valves in the right side is the tricuspid valve, in the left side it is the mitral valve, bicuspid valve. And the blood, when it is pumped out, there are two semilunar valves. One is the, when it is going to lungs, the valve is there, that is the pulmonary semilunar valve. When it is going to all the body parts, then it is the aortic semilunar valve. So like this, excretory system is also the life process that you have to remember, the students, how this urine is formed. So just go through the process and you will be very easily remember how it is filtered. You know the steps of this urine formation, that is the ultrafiltration, then it is selective absorption, and then it is the distal convoluted tubule, DCT. What is happening? The tubular secretion is happening. So in the three stages, this in the nephrons, the unit of excretory system or unit of kidneys. So millions of nephrons are there, and each nephron, this process is taking place, and then the urine is collected in the collecting tubule and then is sent back to the pelvis, and then through the ureters they are being collected in the urinary bladder, and it is emptied whenever there is a sensation of emptying the bladder. And sometimes in the artificial kidney hemodialysis also, you have to study in your book, it is there. So just go through that, how this artificial kidney is working. The only difference between the natural kidney and artificial kidney is that in artificial kidney there is no reabsorption, selective reabsorption is not there, and otherwise it is same. In normal kidney, natural kidney, what is happening? The selective reabsorption is there, and the plenty of water and other substances are sent back to the blood to maintain its composition. So that is not there in the artificial kidney. So these things you have to remember, students, and some other salient features. Control coordination. About control coordination, what are the important aspects about the brain, about the central nervous system, and the peripheral nervous system, and the unit of nervous system, that is how things are being controlled and coordinated. It is because of the neuron. So neurons, about neuron you have to be very clear what are the parts of neuron, the cell body, cyton, the long process axon, and the nerve ending. Okay, now the impulses are being received by the dendrites which are attached to the cell body. The cell body is having a nucleus and also the nasal granules, right, and the axon is being protected by the myelin sheath, and also under the myelin sheath there is the neural lemma. So these are extra protection for the axon so that there is no overlapping of the impulses are there. So this is how the electric impulses, though cannot be compared with electricity because they are fast, but not as fast as the electric current. So these things we have to remember, students, how these messages are being transmitted, right? So these through the axon, and the action potential or impulse is carried to one neuron to another through the polarized state, polarization, that is resting stage, and then depolarization, then repolarization again takes place. So it is the wave coming out from the depolarized state to repolarized state is actually the waves of the impulses. That is how the impulses are being conducted from one neuron to another. Reflex action, you are all aware of what is reflex action, reflex arc, and about the brain, the important parts of the brain, and the cerebrum, the center of intelligence, thinking, analysis, and then this is the cerebrum, this is the bulk of the brain, and there are two hemispheres, left hemisphere, right hemisphere, and the cortex of the brain, the cortex of the brain, medulla of the brain, and these parts you have to remember. So the other details of your human brain you have to remember. So cerebrum is the bulk of the brain, as I said, right? And three main parts: cerebrum, cerebellum. Cerebellum is controlling the muscular coordination and also the balance of the body, and medulla oblongata. All the involuntary actions are being controlled by medulla. That is full form is medulla oblongata. Okay. So this is in short about the brain, students, and about the spinal cord also. It is the very thin cord which is there inside the vertebral column, well protected, and 31. This is segmented, and 31 pairs of nerves are arising from the spinal cord, right? So these are actually carrying impulses to the periphery of the body. Okay, so the neck region, cervical region, there are eight pairs. In the thoracic region, there are 12 pairs. So 12 and 8, 20. 5 at the sacral region, 5 at the lumbar region. So this is 10. So now it becomes 30, and one pair is at the coccygeal region, the tailbone. So it in totality it is 31 pairs of nerves which are being distributed through the body. So this is how the spinal nerves are functioning. Okay, and the parasympathetic sympathetic nervous system, which comes in the autonomic nervous system, all the involuntary functions of our body are being controlled by this system. So the normal functioning of the heartbeats, the intestinal muscle movement, the peristaltic movements, okay, the blood flow in the vessels, okay. So these are all the movements which are taking place, and these are being regulated by the sympathetic nervous system. But sometimes with abnormal situation occurs and the heartbeat becomes very fast or very slow, or the movements of peristalsis become reverse. So that in those conditions the parasympathetic nervous system restores them to their normal situation. So this is the work of the balancing work of the sympathetic as well as parasympathetic nervous system, which come under the autonomic nervous system. Okay, and then in plants also control coordination is there, though there is no visible physical movement, but the movement of the branches and the other parts of the plants take place. So the hormones you have to remember, which are known as the phytohormones in plants, which are making these movements, and these are called the phototropism or the tropic movements, because they are directed towards the source, towards the stimulus. If light is the stimulus, the branch will grow towards the light, and that is the phototropism. If earth is the stimulus, if the gravity is the stimulus, so root is growing towards the gravity, so positive tropism is there, geotropism, positive phototropism going towards the light, positive, and if it is reversed, then it is negative tropism. The aquatic plants are growing towards the water, so that is the hydrotropism. So like this, tropic movements are there, and the thigmotropism is also there, but due to touch, also the plants, they start growing on a support. So that is thigmotropism. Mimosa pudica, touch me not, is also an example for this. And the hormones which are responsible, or phytohormones in plants, are auxin, your cytokinin, your abscisic acid, ethylene. So these are the hormones which are responsible for these movements, okay, in plants. So you have to remember about the hormones also. The auxin is the main growth promoting hormone, which helps in growing by the elongation of the cells, and cytokinin is also there, which helps in the cell division. So like this, there are hormones, phytohormones in the plants, which are helping in the control and coordination in the plants. Okay, so students, I think I have completed the important aspects of the life processes for class 10 CBSE. Now I will, in the next video, the other chapters I will cover. So it will require, I think, 2 videos only for a quick revision of your syllabus before the exams, right? But I again say that this is not all. This is just a revision, quick revision. You have to be very thorough with your chapters. You have to practice your question answers from different test papers, and from the different questions that you have come across in your day-to-day school days, in your tests and everything. So apart from that, I am trying to help you by a quick narration of these chapters, the important points. Thank you very much. God bless you all.